Welcome to the Final Steps bite-sized briefing for senior managers on Internet phone solutions. We're going to cover the challenge facing senior decision makers, how Internet phone solutions can help you do more with fewer resources, key criteria to explore when buying, and some pitfalls to avoid. In a recent review meeting after implementing an Internet phone solution, a senior manager admitted to us that the project had made him nervous. That's understandable. All your clients, your senior management team, and all of your colleagues use that phone system, so making a poor choice is a highly visible mistake. In addition, there's lots of technical jargon to get to grips with, difficult when IT is not your natural area of expertise and you have many other priorities. So how do you make a well-informed decision that you can be comfortable being accountable for? Well, senior decision makers have asked us to help by approaching the issue in particular ways. First of all, talk about IT in terms of business goals, not technical features. Secondly, simplify the complexity of IT based on expertise and experience. Thirdly, let's take a look at the decision making from different angles so that we get a well-informed decision. Also, let's not have any nasty surprises about costs or about timescales, and let's plan it out. And finally, let's have some reporting and return on investment information so that we know that we've made a good decision and that we can prove that. So we'll condense as much of that approach as we can into this briefing on Internet phone solutions. The photograph here is of Cragside. It was the first house in the world to be lit by electric bulbs. Now, in the early days of electricity, if you wanted it, you had to have your own generator in your own building. And then we created local power stations and we distributed the power reliably over the national grid. Now, something similar has happened with IT. It used to be the case that if you wanted business email, file storage, then you had to have your own servers in your own office. But now those services are provided in the cloud in data centers, and we connect to them from any location using internet connectivity. And the buzz phrase for this is digital transformation. That journey to the cloud has been happening for some time, but the COVID pandemic has accelerated it as we're all forced to work from home. It sparked a physical as well as a digital transformation, because companies are considering if they need the same amount of office space or even if they need an office at all. It's likely the economic impact will be felt for 3 to 5 years, so we're all going to have to find ways of doing more with fewer resources, and Internet phone solutions is one of the ways that we can do that. By the way, this move to the cloud is so prevalent that by December 2023, BT Openreach is due to stop selling traditional phone lines and to provide only digital phone lines instead. In fact, on the 1st of December 2020, Salisbury became the first UK city where they have stopped selling copper-based traditional telephone lines. So what is an Internet phone solution? With traditional phone systems, your phone lines, your personal exchange and your handsets all tied you to a given location, normally your office. But with Internet phones, your telephone lines are actually carried on the Internet connection. Your exchange box is in the cloud and your handsets can be entirely portable. So you have the full functionality of your phone system anywhere you have an Internet connection. Let's look at a common scenario if you have a traditional phone system and you're out of the office having to work from home. So let's say your capacity is 10 inbound calls and there's an incoming call which has to be forwarded as you aren't in the office. You are now paying for that forwarded call. It's probably directed to a message taker of some description because whilst the call lasts, all 10 lines are occupied and you cannot receive further telephone calls. Now, the message taker can't transfer the call to colleagues, so it's going to take at least 2 more calls to get back to the caller. So in effect, you have reduced your call capacity, you've bottlenecked your system, you've built in a delay added to your costs and added to your time, and you're not as responsive in servicing clients. Compare that to an Internet phone solution where your communications flow much better because you have the full functionality of a phone system wherever you have an internet connection, and your time, effort and costs are reduced. But your flexibility also increases in other ways. So a number of our clients have downsized their office space and moves are so much easier with a digital phone solution in place. Also, when social distancing abates and you're allowed to go back into the office, You can have much greater flexibility thanks to hot desking. So someone can sit down at a desk with their dedicated phone, they can get up and someone else can sit down and straight away they're working with their own dedicated phone in exactly the same location. And so workflow's just a lot better. Of course, internet phone solutions are not perfect, and some have found that in the rush to adopt them, they ended up with an underperforming internet phone system, or possibly even one in worst case scenarios that is not fit for purpose. And this can be extremely frustrating because you've made the move and you've made the investment, but you're not feeling the benefit of it. And in fact, your costs can start to rise because users start to revert to mobiles and messaging services, and it begins to feel like you've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. So if you're buying internet phones for the first time, or you're re-evaluating a system and considering a change, what are the things that you need to evaluate in order to make a good quality decision? Find out where you are now. So gather data on your current position. And this should include what existing contracts do you have? What are their costs and how long do they last? What is your phone capacity? So the number of lines, is it spread across numerous providers? And is it spread across phones, mobiles, faxes, answering service, virtual PAs? What current equipment do you have? So handsets, mobiles, headsets, and are these company owned or are they personal to staff and you're operating on a sort of bring your own device basis, which may have security implications? And also look at your internet connections. So what do you have at your office or offices, and what do you have at key personnel's homes? You're also going to need to get some qualitative data. So how are people finding productivity? And how is customer service going? And I would spread the net fairly wide when talking to staff and ask clients if you can, because some of the barriers to productivity that you find may surprise you. Once you have a clearer idea of where you're starting from, you consider where you want to be and how to get there. Think about your internet phone system in terms of what workflows do you need to accommodate and what's the budget that you've set for it. Create a must-have and a nice-to-have list of requirements, and that way you can compare various systems. There are 4 areas that repeatedly seem to stop return on investment being realized when moving to a new internet phone solution. These are internet connections, training, number porting, and what we call the dangers of DIY. We're going to take a look at those each individually. But if you want further information on discovering where you are and what's the way forward, you can ask for our guide on the owner's decision-making process for internet phone solutions, and you'll find my email at the end of this presentation. With internet phones, good quality calls are utterly reliant on a good quality internet connection. Your voice gets broken down into packets of data and it moves around like traffic on the roads. Now, one of the great things about the internet is that it can reroute if there are delays in places, but it does that according to standard protocols. And we know that even fast roads still get traffic jams. Unfortunately, internet connections are not set and forget. They need monitoring and they need management. So what traffic are you prioritizing and how are you routing it? Now, that's relatively easy to do on your office, because you probably have a leased line and that's attached to a fancy router and a firewall with all their traffic management features. However, it's much harder to achieve in a home environment because home connections tend to be cheaper, less reliable, and their bandwidth is more widely shared between family members and the rest of the street. Home routers also tend to have a very basic setup and configuration, and home users tend to move off cabled, faster, more reliable connections and instead move to Wi-Fi or home plugs, which are just not as fast. Also, there's an issue of security, which is really important to consider. Home connections in general are less secure. So identifying and managing key internet connections is essential. And it's generally going to be the case that you'll find that you're over-invested in the office, which you may not be in very much now, and you're under-invested at certain homes, which is where you're spending the majority of your time. Don't underestimate the value of training in your new internet phone solution. Top-performing teams train and practice regularly, and training means that people can confidently adopt the features that are going to keep them productive. Training also makes it easier to follow policies you set on such things as sharing calls in groups, out-of-hours calls, and call recordings. We recommend that you appoint and train a champion for the phone system. So they're probably going to document fiddly things which are done irregularly, such as adjusting the system for bank holidays or changing voice recordings. They should also manage change requests, because often people can have conflicting change requests, so what one person wants actually contradicts what somebody else wants, and that needs to be resolved. They should also approve new equipment requests, because if everybody gets to set up their own personal favorite Bluetooth headset, then there may well be an instance of call quality declining because of that, and it becomes harder and more expensive to support the system because you have more variation in it. Now, particularly in the early days, they should also track the trending on support calls to uncover areas where a technical or a training fix may ensure that you're getting the most from your new investment. When you move to a new phone system, make sure you take your most loved features with you. Otherwise, people will feel let down by the new system, they won't feel invested in it, and they'll begin to drift away from it. We've already mentioned having a must-have and a nice-to-have list. One item you certainly don't want to get left behind is your main telephone number. This is going to be on your website, your stationery, your email footers, and it will probably be in various professional directories. It will also be programmed into your clients' phone systems, their contact lists, and their mobiles. Now, a surprising number of companies have left this element too late to get it done in time, and they've either had to abandon their original number altogether or pay for forwarding or recorded messages that redirect callers. If you want to keep your number, expect a disproportionate amount of time and effort around this issue, especially if you're combining moving office and changing phone systems. And when you move to a new phone system, always ask that new provider how they will handle you keeping your number should you ever have to exit and move away from using their system. I don't do DIY because I'm not much good at it. However, every so often a job comes up that appears to be so simple that I think I will get a good result and a quick result if I manage it myself. Internet phone solutions can be a little bit like that because there are good providers out there and you feel that if you pick one of those then your job is done. But unfortunately that doesn't connect it into all the other elements that make for a good return on investment. You will still probably be left needing to connect up people, training, your champion, internet connectivity and devices, and of course not forgetting security and data protection. Hopefully this bite-sized briefing has given you some good ideas so that you can start making the right decision for you. If you have any questions, or you would like our owner's guide, or you would like to arrange a demonstration of one of the systems that we use, then please contact me at the email address below, simon@thefinalstep.co.uk. But thank you very much for watching another Final Step bite-sized briefing.